So good morning to all the students. Today we are going to discuss very simple topic on problem solving. This particular topic belongs to the first unit of our syllabus. So what actually is a problem and how do we solve it? All these things we'll discuss. It's a very simple topic. It's a theoretical part. Which is very simple topic. So please concentrate. After this particular topic is completed, we'll move to one more session. We'll do some of the objective type questions, right? So we'll see how these quantitative questions in C programming should be answered, and all these things we'll discuss, right? So please concentrate, and this is the first topic. So what actually is a problem? So we have a lot of problems in the real world, right? So right. So we have problems and we need to solve those problems, and people will solve those problems using two methods. One, it can be manual method, or it can be by using some technique, right? Or by taking help of some computers, right? So problems can be solved by manually or by making use of computers. So when do we go for manual problem solving is whenever the problems are simple in nature and whenever there is no repetition of tasks, then the people are more interested to solve those problems manually. But if the problem size increases, that means if the complexity of the problem increases day by day, then people are more interested to solve that type of problem. That means complex type of problems can be solved by using computers, right? So we have two types of solutions for solving a problem. One is manual and second one is by using computers. When the problem is very simple, then we solve it manually, but if the problem becomes complex, then we solve it using computers, right? So this is the topic that is related to problem solving using computers, which is the first topic of our syllabus, right? So what actually problem is, all these things we'll discuss, but first of all let us know what this problem solving is, right? So we have problems and we have to solve those problems, and as a human psychology, the people or the person is not interested to repeat a set of steps, right? So if you have a solution for it, and if I ask you to repeat the same steps to another problem, then you feel some discomfort, and then we are not interested to solve those type of problems. So whenever you have to repeat some set of steps and solve the similar problems, we'll take the help of computers, right? So that is what he is explaining in this particular slide. So if you the people are not interested to repeat the steps and to solve the similar problems. So for that purpose, we want to use the computers to do our task, and this is, but the problem with the computer is it doesn't take its own decision. It doesn't have the capability of making the decision, right? So for that purpose, we need to tell some instructions, or we need to give some instructions to the computer saying that this is what you have to do, this is what you have to do, and all these things you have to write in a step-by-step manner. We know what that step-by-step procedure is, right? The step-by-step procedure to solve a problem is nothing but a algorithm. We'll see all those things also, right? So whenever we want to solve a particular problem using computers, we have to tell the computer how to solve that problem, right? So let us discuss what actually a problem is. A problem is something, we can say that it is a task which you want to perform, which the programmer want to perform, or which the end user want to perform. It's a simple task. For example, we can take the task of making a cup of coffee, right? Similarly, we can take a problem of finding the factorial of a given number, addition of two numbers. All these things are problems, right? So it is a task which the programmer or the end user has to perform. But the other definitions of problem can be given as a problem is an obstacle, right? It is an obstacle which makes it difficult to achieve a desired goal, objective, or purpose. So we have a desired goal, and we have some objectives, and we have a purpose for doing a particular task. But sometimes we will come across some obstacles while achieving those goals, objectives, or purpose. We'll call it as a problem. How we can deal with these problems is nothing but the problem solving mechanism. The other definition can be, it refers to a situation or a condition or an issue that is yet unresolved. So if there are any unresolved issues, if there are any unresolved conditions, that particular thing also we can call it as a problem, right? And we can also say that the difference between what actually is and what is desired. We are expecting something and the actual output is something. So in such cases, we have a problem, right? So all these particular, these are not the actual definitions, but these are the situations where we can say that it is a problem, right? And as I told that, trying to find a solution to a problem, whatever problem it may be, if you are trying to get a solution for it, solution to a problem, then it is known as problem solving, right? These all things you are all very aware of it, but this is a simple theoretical topic, so please concentrate. So whenever you have a problem and whenever you try to find the solution to a problem, that is known as problem solving, right? And problem solving, it becomes a day-to-day activity. Right. So you saw a lot of problems in the daily life also, right? You will come across a lot of problems and you have to overcome those problems, or you have to find the solutions for those problems in the daily life activities also, right? But nowadays it is more and more active. Why? Because it is more and more important. Why? Because we are implementing or we are making use of computers for performing our daily life activity, right? In every activity we perform, right, we make use of computers. That is the importance of the computers in our daily life. As we know that we can take a simple mobile phone, where whatever task you want to perform, whether you want to browse, whether you want to listen to music, whether you want to watch a movie, everything you are performing it using these mobile phones only. We can say that a mobile phone is a simple smartphone, or we can call it as a small computer also, right? So we are involving the computers in our daily life to perform each and every activity. In such situations, we require the problem solving capabilities, right? And the problem solving becomes a part of our day-to-day life activities, right? So as I told that there are two ways of solving a problem. One, you can solve it by using manually. This is the case when the problem is easier. That means if you have a simple problem, you can solve it manually. Or the second way of solving a problem or finding a solution for a problem is by using computers. So these computers will be used to solve problems if the problem size is larger and complex in nature. So for complex and larger set of problems, we'll make use of computers, right? So how these computers are going to solve these problems, complex problems, in a easier manner means they will make use of a strategy called as top-down design approach. This is called as top-down design approach. Or there is another algorithmic strategy which is called as divide and conquer. Divide and conquer, right? So if we have a large complex problem, the complex problem will be divided into smaller problems. We call them as sub problems or subtasks, right? So whenever we have a large problem, we divide it into smaller problems. We get the solution for each and every sub problem, and then finally we will combine these solutions of the small problems to get the solution to a larger problem. This is how the computers will solve, and that particular strategy, that is called as algorithmic strategy, and that particular strategy is called as divide and conquer strategy, right? So this is how this particular slide is important. There are two ways of solving a problem. One is manual and another one is by using the computer. Manual means if the problem is easier, then we'll go for the manual solutions, and if the problem is complex, we'll go for the computers. We may get a question that how computers are going to solve such complex problems. Means they will make use of a strategy called as divide and conquer strategy, where the large problem is divided into smaller problems, and you get the solutions of each and every problem, and then you combine the solutions of the smaller problems to get the solution of the larger problem, right? So we have seen a lot of terminology before this problem solving also. How we are going to solve these problems using computers, right? The first thing is algorithm. We know very well what an algorithm is. An algorithm is nothing but a step-by-step procedure to solve a problem. It's called as a algorithm, right? So if we have already a solved problem, we would have some procedure or logic to do so. For example, you consider a case where you have to find the addition of two integer numbers. Addition of two integer numbers. In such case, what you will do, we'll take two integer variables a and b. We'll take the values of a is equal to 10 and b is equal to 20. We'll read the values of a and b, and then we'll use a logic called c is equal to a plus b. So this is the logic for addition of two integers, right? We have a particular logic, we have a procedure, take two integer variables, assign some values of 10 and 20 to a and b, and then you add these variables and then assign it to c. This is the logic we have already framed this logic. So can we apply this logic to another problem of the same set? That means I want to add two floating point numbers. Can I use it? Yes, we can use it, right? So if we have a logic or if we have a procedure to a particular problem, we can apply the same logic to other particular problems also, right? So for example, you take another case of adding three integer numbers, a, b, and c, or finding the average of numbers. So what you will do, you will take three variables, you add them, and then divide it by 3, right? So you can extend the logic, you can apply the same logic to add two float numbers, or you can extend the logic to add three floating point numbers or average of numbers, whatever it may be, right? So the same logic can be repeated, the same logic can be repeated to apply for the other set of problems also. This is how the algorithms Now can you hear my voice?
Sir.
Sir. Yes, sir.
ఎక్కడ దాకా విన్నారమ్మా మీరు?
Algorithm, sir.
అల్గారిథం వరకు విన్నారు అంతేనా?
Yes, sir.
Can you see the screen? Screen totally
sir. Sir, కనిపిస్తుంది sir.
No, sir.
What is problem solving కనిపిస్తుందా?
No, sir. కనిపించట్లేదు సార్.
No, sir. It's loading, sir.
Now is it clear? Can you see the screen now?
No, sir. Still loading.
Now can you see the screen?
No, sir.
Now?
Yes, sir.
Problem solving దాకా విన్నారా?
Charts వినాలి.
Flowchart దాకా విన్నారా? Okay. So we'll continue from this point. So as I told that the problem solving using computers can be done either by using the algorithms, and the second one is we can make use of the flowcharts, and the third one is pseudocode. This is a new term. You might have not heard of this pseudocode, right? So what an algorithm is nothing but it's a step-by-step procedure. And as I told that if you have already a procedure or a logic to solve a particular problem, then you can either apply the same logic. You can apply the same logic to solve a different set of problem, or you can extend the logic to solve a different set of problems. Either you can apply the same logic or you can extend it. Right? So as I told that the algorithm will have the a single algorithm or a single problem will have different algorithms, right? So one algorithm will have many solutions. This already we have discussed it while discussing the concept of algorithms, right? So one important point that I want to stress here is algorithms are a procedure or logic that is written in simple steps, and you can write it by making use of any natural language also. Natural language means languages such as English, Telugu, Hindi, Marathi, etc. Right? But most popularly will make use of English language only. Why? Because this is the widely used and accepted language. But the disadvantage of writing these algorithms using the natural languages is if a person from different region comes for a solution, then the logic may not be understandable for that particular person, right? So to avoid or to overcome such problem, what we are doing is we are converting or we are representing the algorithm in a graphical manner. So the graphical way of representing the algorithm is called as a flowchart, right? And flowcharts we have discussed in the previous classes also. And coming to the last one, where the problem solving is in complex, we make use of a pseudocode also. Listen carefully, this is a new term that you have come across here, pseudocode, right? As we know that the algorithms can be written in by using any natural language, but the pseudocode should be written only in the English language only. So the pseudocode should be written only in the English language. We have few advantages of this. You might be asking a question like, why sir, why we are going for all these things, algorithms, flowcharts and pseudocode? We have already the algorithms concept, and why we are going for this pseudocodes means, as I told that the algorithms can be written by making use of the natural language also, but the pseudocode can be written only in the English language. But there are few other advantages of this pseudocode also, which we are going to discuss it now, right? So these particular pseudocodes are written in informal language. What do you mean by informal language? There's no need to follow the rules. There's no need to follow the syntax rules. There's no need to follow the grammatical rules, right? Nothing you can follow, right? You can write it in a simple informal language. Whatever solution you get, you write it in a simple informal language. That is called as a pseudo. Cheppandi.
Sir, ante మీరు ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ స్లైడ్ విజిబుల్ గా లేదు సార్. ప్రాబ్లమ్ సాల్వింగ్ అని స్టార్టింగ్ పేజ్ విజిబుల్ గా ఉంది సార్.
ఇప్పుడు ఇది విజిబుల్ గా లేదా మీది?
నో సార్, ప్రాబ్లమ్ సాల్వింగ్ అని స్టార్టింగ్ స్లైడ్ విజిబుల్ గా ఉంది సార్. మీరు చెప్తున్న స్లైడ్ లేదు సార్.
ఇప్పుడు
ఇంకా సార్. ఓకే సార్.
కూడా వచ్చిందమ్మా?
ఎస్ సార్.
చేంజ్ అయింది. అప్పుడు ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఆఫ్ సూడోకోడ్ అని వచ్చిందా?
సూడోకోడ్ సార్.
ఓన్లీ సూడోకోడ్ అని చూపిస్తుందా?
ఎస్ సార్.
ఓకే, ఇప్పుడమ్మా?
ఎస్ సార్.
ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఆఫ్ సూడోకోడ్ చూపించింది?
ఎస్ సార్.
చూపించింది.
So the problem, so the pseudocode is something that is written in a informal English language. When you say that informal English language, we are not going to concentrate on the syntaxes. We are not bothered about the syntaxes. So when we are not bothered about the syntaxes, we just concentrate on the logic of the algorithm. So most of the time you spend on writing the good logic. When you write good logic, then you get a solution in a quicker manner, right? And another important point regarding this particular pseudocode is this pseudocode can be converted into the source code. You know what a source code is, right? These are nothing but the programs that are written in any programming language. Either you can make use of the C, C++, Python, whatever maybe. You can make use of any programming language and you can write the source code, right? So once you write the pseudocode here, as I told that the pseudocode does not concentrate on the syntax. The most important point that we have to remember is the designer is focusing on the logic of the algorithm itself. So when you focus on the logic of the algorithm, then you will end up in a very good source code, right? So the process of converting the pseudocode into the source code will be very easy. That's the reason why we are going for these pseudocodes. And one more important point regarding these pseudocodes is they can neither be compiled nor executed, right? And there is no real formatting and syntax rules. All these things we have discussed. Is it clear up to this point? Pseudocode.
Sir.
Can you see the screen? Pseudocode, example on pseudocode.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Kanipistunది sir.
Can you tell me the logic of this one? What is the program? What is the problem here? Anybody please observe the logic and tell me what is the problem here? What is the solution?
Factorial, sir. Factorial solution is sir. Factorial.
Yeah, it is a factorial, right? So you can observe here that you have written in a formal English language, right? You get the value of n. It's a normal English language, and then set initial value of f to 1. Then you use a while n greater than 1, f is equal to f star n is equal to n minus 1, and while display value of f. Right? Is it difficult to write a pseudocode for any problem? No, right? So this is the simple pseudocode. You can write it, and as I told that the pseudocode can be easily converted into the source code, right? So let us see another slide. This is the programming code using C. Whatever pseudocode you have written in the previous slide, this one, you are converting it into the source code. So the conversion of the pseudocode into the source code will be very easy. Is it okay up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Right. So till now we have discussed what a problem is. We have different problems in our daily life, and we can solve those problems either manually. I'm just repeating the topic, right? So we have discussed what a problem is. It is an obstacle to a desired objective. We have some objectives and we have some obstacles. Some obstacles may come across in the particular objective achievement. So those types of things are called as problems, and we can solve those problems. We means the programmer or the end user can solve those problems in two ways. The first method is manually, and the second method is using computers. Manually, the end user is very much interested to solve the problems manually whenever the problem is simple in nature. But when the complexity of the problem increases, the programmer should concentrate, or the programmer is more interested to solve such type of problems using computers, right? So whenever there are some set of repetitive tasks, those repetitive tasks also the user is not interested to solve it manually. So he will search for computers to solve such type of problems, right? So problem solving means whenever you have a problem, you try to find the solution for that problem. That is called as problem solving. So problem solving manually and problem solving using computers. Again, problem solving using computers can be divided into three types. One is either you can give the solution for a particular problem using algorithm, and second one is you can give the solution for a particular problem using flowchart, and the third one is you can give the solution for the problem using pseudocode, right? And we know what an algorithm is. Algorithm is nothing but a step-by-step procedure to solve a particular problem, and flowchart is where you convert the algorithm into different graphical manner. That graphical way of representing the algorithm is called as flowchart. These two topics we have discussed elaborately, and the new term which we have come across here is the pseudocode, right? The algorithms, you should know the difference between the algorithm and the pseudocode. Algorithm is a solution to a problem where you will give step-by-step solution to a problem. But pseudocode is not actually the solution to the problem. It is the way of writing the algorithm, how you are going to write the algorithm. And pseudocode makes use of the most informal English language. There is no need to concentrate on the syntaxes. You just concentrate on the logic only, right? But algorithm needs to concentrate on logic as well as the syntax also, right? And one more important thing is the pseudocode can be written using English language only, but algorithms can be written by using the English as well as the other natural languages also, right? And pseudocode can neither be compiled nor executed, right? And the final one is pseudocode converted. It is simply a mechanical task to convert the pseudocode into the source code. These are the important differences between the pseudocode and the algorithm. We have seen an example on this pseudocode of finding the factorial of a given number, and how this pseudocode is converted into the programming source code in C is also depicted in this example. Right? Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
So this is the topic which I want to discuss in today's class, and tomorrow we are going to discuss the top-down design approach and software development lifecycle. All these things we will discuss. Right? Again, tomorrow also is a theoretical class where you should concentrate more. Right? Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
1 minute. Give me 1 minute. Now, can you see the screen? We'll solve 5 objective type questions, or 5 to 10 objective type questions, and then we'll leave. Can you see the screen? Declarations and initializations.
Yes, sir.
Sir, screen share is ended on us.
ఒక నిమిషం. Now, can you see the screen?
No, sir.
ఇప్పుడు కనిపిస్తుందమ్మా?
Yes, sir. But start time, sir.
Yes, sir.
Can you see declarations and initializations?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Can you see the first question?
No, sir.
No, sir.
ఇప్పుడమ్మా?
Yes, sir.
ఫస్ట్ క్వశ్చన్ చూడగలుగుతున్నారమ్మా?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So these are all the objective type questions that I have collected from the internet only. India Bix అని చెప్పేసి ఉంటుందమ్మా. You can find out the solutions also. Right. So what is the answer for this one?
First
Which of the following? So which of the following statements should be used to obtain the remainder after dividing 3.14 by 2.1? Anybody?
Yes, sir.
What is the answer?
Yes, sir. C, sir.
Yeah, actually, we might be thinking that remainder is equal to 3.14 modular division 2.1. But while discussing the concept of operators, I told that the modular division operator cannot be operated on floating point numbers. Right? And you might be thinking that remainder cannot be obtained in floating point division. This is also correct option only. But we have a function called, if you are forced to get the remainder of the floating point numbers. Right? Can you hear my voice?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So we know that there is an operator called modular division operator, which gives the remainder of integer numbers, right? And the limitation of this modular division operator is it cannot be operated on floating point numbers, right? So 3.14 modular division 2.1 is not supported in C programming language. But when we are forced to get the remainder of 3.14 by 2.1, we have a function called fmod, right? So this function gives the remainder of the floating point numbers, right? Modular division of floating point numbers. This is important point we have to remember, right? Now, can you see the screen? Is there any difference between following declarations? These two. Can you see the screen?
Sir.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
1 and 2 are the two declarations that he has given, and he is asking us whether both are identical or there is no difference. Can anybody tell me what is the correct answer for this one?
C, sir. Overridden.
There is no concept of overriding and all these things in C programming language.
External
Right.
means it is useful for global variables, global function.
Yeah. Listen to the answer, right? Listen to the solution. In the first option, he has given it as, what is this one? Actually, it is a function declaration, right? What is the name of the function? Fun. And the return type of fun is int. And he is giving this extern keyword. We have discussed the concept of storage classes, where extern is one of the storage classes. And we are saying that extern is something like global, right? But the actual meaning of extern is whatever may be, whether you can give the extern for the function or you can give it for the variable or whatever it may be. Whenever we say extern, right? So the definition of this function or the definition of the variable is defined in another file. That is the meaning of external. Is it okay? What do you mean by another file? You might get a doubt, right? What do you mean by another file, sir? Right. So my question is whether you can write multiple files for solving a problem, or you have to write everything in a single file. ఒక ప్రాబ్లం సాల్వ్ చేయడం, in order to solve a problem, is it mandatory that you should write everything in a single file, or you can write the different tasks in different files and you can combine them? Do you know this concept?
Different files lo రాయొచ్చు sir.
Yeah, you can write it using different files, right? So for example, assume that I have a problem and I have written it using 3 files, file 1, file 2 and file 3, f1, f2 and f3, right? So I have a function called fun, which is defined in file 2, but I have to declare that this int fun is a function which I have declared in file 2 using this extern keyword, right? So here the answer is both are same only, but extern says that the int fun has been probably defined in another file. Do you understand the meaning of extern?
Yes, sir.
Extern means the definition
sir.
of that function or the definition of the variable has been defined in some other file. That's nothing but a global variable, right? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So the option will be 2. There is no difference between these two function declarations except that the fun has been defined in some other file. Why? Because we have made use of this extern keyword. Is it right?
Yes, sir.
Now can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
What is the answer?
Round C, sir. Round up 1.66.
See here. The question is, how would you round off a value from 1.66 to 2.0? So it is a floating point number 1.66, and we want the upper limit, right? 1.66 kana pi gelte 2 amma. 1.6
Floor.
it becomes 1,
Yes, sir.
right? So we have two different functions in C programming language that supports the upper value and lower value. Seal and upper value. We have the concept called ceiling fan. What do you mean by ceiling fan? Upper, right? So whenever you want to find the upper value of 1.66, that means 2.0, then we have to make use of a function called seal. So whenever you want to get the lower value of 1.66, lower value and we'll get 1.
1.
So for that we have a concept, or we have a predefined function called floor. Floor and seal, these are the two important functions. Those are the mathematical functions which we can make use of it. And what is the header file that you have to use it?
Math.h.
Math.h, right? So you remember these two functions, seal and floor. Seal means upper value, floor means lower value. Right? Now can you see the screen? What is the output? మా ఆన్సర్ ఏంటమ్మా? సింపుల్ అమ్మా, చాలా సింపుల్ ఇది. Which of the following is not user defined data? Can you see the screen or not?
Sir.
2, sir. Not an user defined data type. Long int I equal to 2.35.
What are the user defined data types? We have structures,
Structures, enums, pointers, functions.
Pointers and functions are derived data types. User defined data types are
Structure, unions, enums.
Structures, unions, enums.
In the first option we have structure, in the third option we have enumeration, and in the second option we have long int. This is a normal variable declaration. So this is not a user defined data type. Both structure and enums are user defined data type, right? So the last one, identify which of the following are declarations. Simple am I? This is also a simple question. Identify which of the following.
One is a
First one
declaration.
is extern int x. Extern int x. Is it a declaration or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It is a declaration.
It is a declaration. Here we are declaring the x variable of type integer, and it is an external variable. What do you mean by extern? Previously we have
Global variable.
global variable, but forget about the
Another
concept of
file.
global.
Which is used in
Another file.
Whenever you use it, that is defined in some other file, right?
File.
So what about the second one? Is it a declaration or definition?
Definition, sir.
It is a definition, right? Here square is a function name, float is the return type, and it is accepting one parameter, that is float of x. And here we have given something, some dots. So the dots is nothing but some set of statements, right, which are enclosed within curly parentheses. So this becomes the definition of the function, right? And the third one is double power, double, and it is ending with a semicolon. What is this one? It is nothing but a function declaration,
Function call.
or it is
Function
also function
call.
Name is power POW. The return type is double, and it is accepting two parameters. Both are of double data type only. So what he is asking? Identify which of the following are declarations. Therefore, 1 and 3 are declarations. So the option is this one, right? So we'll close here, and we'll meet again tomorrow with some discussions on this SDLC and top-down design approach. And if time permits, we'll see these particular bits also, right? Thank you. You can leave the session.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.